Cinderella's mother had passed away when she was just a child. Her father, a gentle and loving man, raised her with all the kindness in his heart. Cinderella grew into a girl with a pure soul, kind, graceful, and beautiful in every way. For years, she lived peacefully with her father. But everything changed the day he remarried. Her stepmother and her 2 daughters moved in. And from the very first moment, the atmosphere of the house changed. The stepmother saw Cinderella's beauty, her kindness, and instantly despised her. Her stepsisters? Rude, spoiled, jealous. Still, Cinderella hoped things would get better. But life had other plans. One day, due to work, Cinderella's father had to leave on a long journey. The moment he left, the mask came off. Her stepmother approached Cinderella in the garden, where the girl was talking to her bird friends, the only creatures who brought her comfort. With a cold voice, she said, "From today you will live in the attic. You will do all the household chores. And stop wearing those clothes. You're not a lady here anymore." Cinderella froze. Her heart sank. But helplessly, she obeyed. She packed her belongings and climbed up to the cold, dusty attic. From that day on, her life became a never-ending cycle of chores. She swept the floors, washed the dishes, cooked the meals, carried the water, all while her stepmother and stepsisters treated her like a servant. They scolded her for everything. "Wipe the floor again. You didn't finish the laundry. I have nothing to wear. Fix it." Cinderella worked until her hands hurt. She cried alone at night by the fireplace, trying to stay warm from the dying embers, and yet she never complained. Her only friends were the mice and birds who came to her window. They were the only ones who ever listened. One morning, the entire kingdom erupted with excitement. A royal announcement echoed through the streets. By order of the king, the prince will host a grand ball. All young women of the kingdom are invited. Every girl dreamed of meeting the prince. Cinderella's stepsisters rushed home screaming, "The prince might choose one of us." The stepmother's eyes glowed with ambition. "We must get the finest gowns. Girls, we're going shopping." Cinderella watched quietly as they left the house, laughing with dreams of royalty. Days passed. The stepsisters got new dresses, new shoes, new jewelry. Every morning, they practiced poses in front of the mirror. "We will be the most beautiful girls at the ball." Cinderella helped prepare their gowns. She brushed their hair, tied their ribbons, polished their shoes, all without a single word of thanks. The day finally arrived. The stepsisters woke up early and ordered Cinderella around non-stop. "Prepare our bath. Brush gently. You're pulling it. Fix my gown." All day, Cinderella worked without rest. As they stood ready to leave, she gathered all her courage to ask the question that had been burning inside her. "Stepmother, may I go to the ball too?" Her stepsisters burst out laughing. Her stepmother smirked. "You? Look at you. The prince wants a bride, not a servant." And just like that, they left. Cinderella stood alone at the doorway, watching her dream drift away. She sank to the floor, tears streaming down her face. "If only my parents were here." That's when something extraordinary happened. A bright, shimmering light appeared in the room. Cinderella shielded her eyes. When the light faded, a beautiful fairy stood before her. "My dear Cinderella, don't cry. Tonight you will go to the ball." Cinderella gasped. "But how? Look at me." The fairy smiled. "Trust me. Bring me a pumpkin and 7 mice." It made no sense, but Cinderella obeyed. She ran to the kitchen for the biggest pumpkin she could find. Then she rushed to the attic and gathered her little mouse friends. The fairy raised her wand, and with a flash of magic, the pumpkin transformed into a magnificent golden carriage. One mouse became the driver. The other 6 turned into beautiful white horses. Cinderella stood speechless. The fairy turned to her and gently touched her with the wand. Her ragged dress shimmered, transformed into a breathtaking ball gown, and her worn shoes turned into sparkling glass slippers. Cinderella gasped, I look like a princess." The fairy nodded. "But remember, my child, the magic ends at midnight. Before the clock strikes 12, you must be home." Cinderella agreed and stepped into the carriage. Her heart raced with excitement as the horses galloped toward the castle. The castle lit up the night sky. Music, laughter, and sparkling lights filled the ballroom. But when Cinderella walked through the grand doors, the room fell silent. Everyone turned to look at her. Even her stepmother and stepsisters stared, amazed by this mysterious beauty. They didn't recognize her at all. From the staircase, the prince appeared. His eyes locked onto Cinderella instantly. He walked past every girl in the room, past the stepsisters, and stopped right in front of her. "Most beautiful lady, may I have this dance?" Cinderella nodded, her heart pounding. They danced and danced and danced as if the world had disappeared. Time slipped away until Cinderella heard something that froze her blood. Dong! The first strike of midnight. Her eyes widened with fear. "I must go!" She ran, leaving the prince calling behind her. In her panic, she lost one of her glass slippers on the stairs, but she couldn't stop. As soon as the clock struck 12, the carriage vanished. The gown disappeared. The horses turned back into mice. Cinderella stood alone in the night, wearing her old clothes. But the prince found her slipper. He held it gently and whispered, "Find her. No matter how many homes you must visit, find the girl whose foot fits this shoe." The prince's men traveled across the entire kingdom. Every girl tried the slipper, but none fit. Finally, they reached Cinderella's house. Excited, Cinderella rushed to leave the attic, but her stepmother suddenly blocked the door. "Where do you think you are going?" Before Cinderella could answer, the stepmother locked her in. Downstairs, the stepsisters desperately tried the shoe. The first sister's foot was too long. The second sister's foot was too wide. Nothing worked. Upstairs, Cinderella cried helplessly. Her mouse friends heard her. They rushed downstairs, stole the key from the stepmother's pocket, and climbed back up. The moment Cinderella got the key, she burst out the door and ran downstairs. Her stepmother gasped, "How did you get out?" Ignoring her, Cinderella spoke calmly. "Please, may I try the shoe?" The stepsisters laughed, but the prince's men stopped them. Every girl must try. Cinderella slipped her foot into the glass slipper. Perfect fit. Everyone froze in disbelief. Cinderella was taken to the castle. When the prince saw her, his eyes filled with joy. "I found you, my princess." With tears of happiness, Cinderella accepted his proposal. Soon after, they were married, and Cinderella's days of suffering were forever behind her. But more importantly, her kindness, her patience, and her courage finally led her to the life she truly deserved. And thus, they lived happily ever after.